Hello, good morning, dear students. Today we are going to take the class in YouTube Live. Okay, this is a very interactive session, and you can ask any doubt, either text me or voice me. Okay, at the same time, I will clear your doubt, no problem. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the Python data types. Then, last class we discussed about the fundamentals of Python. Okay, but in this chapter we are going to discuss about different data types using in Python. Then what is data types? What is data types? Data types means, or data types is used to identify the type of data. That means in Python programming language we are inputting different types of data. For example, suppose if you want to add two number, we can enter two numbers. For example, a is equal to 50, b is equal to 20. Then what is the type of this data? This is integer type. This data is integer type. So like this, another one data, for example, name is equal to Arun. See, the type of this data is string. So like this, different data types we are using in Python. So today we are going to discuss the data types in Python. The different data types using in Python are integer. One is integer, otherwise we can say it's a number. Okay, commonly we are saying it's a number data type. Then string data type, then a list data type, tuple data type, then sets and dictionary. These are the data types we are using in Python. It is called fundamental data types. All these data types are fundamental data types, or we can say it's a built-in data types or predefined data types. Predefined data types means this is already defined. This data type is already defined. At the development time, the developers already defined some data types. Such data types are called predefined data types. In Python, number, string, list, tuple, set, dictionary are the fundamental data types or built-in data types. Now we are going to discuss about these data types, these fundamental data types. First one, what is the first one? Number means it is a numeric data type. Number means it's a numeric data type. That means all numeric. The number data types are used to store numeric values in Python. That means all numeric values are stored under this data types. Which one? Number data types. This number data types is again classified into two, that is integer and boolean. These are the two categories of number data types. First one is integer and the second one is boolean. Then what is the difference between these two, integer data type and boolean data type? This is the classification of number data types. The number data types are used to store numeric values. We know that the number data type is used to store numeric values. Then this is classified into two. One is integer and another one is boolean. Then what is the difference between integer and boolean? Integer means we know that it is whole numbers. Integers are whole numbers. That means it has no fractional part. The examples of integer, for example, 20, it is an integer. Minus 30, it's an integer. But 30.5, it is not an integer because it is a decimal number. A fractional part is here, so it is not an integer type. So integers means integers are whole numbers and it has no fractional part. Such numbers are called integers. integers are signed, and signed integers means it's a signed integers. That's why we can put minus symbol. That means negative number also we can write as an integer. Clear? So 20 minus 30, all these are examples of integers. The another one is Boolean data type. There are two Boolean values. One is true. Boolean values, one is true and another one is false. These two are the classification of Boolean data types. One is true and another one is false. True, that means if the condition is true, sometimes in some while loop, the while loop and some if statements, we are using this for Boolean data types, true and false. These are using in some loop. That means in the while loop or for loop. Okay, we can use this Boolean data types that we will discuss later. What is use of this Boolean data types, that we will discuss later. Okay, so integers, is it clear? Integers, the whole numbers without fractional part. Example 20 minus 30, all these are the examples of integer data type. So the first one is number. Number means number data type. Number data types are used to store numeric values. The Python provides two, that way the Python classified the number data types into two. One is integer and another one is bool. Integers means it's a whole numbers without fractional part. Whole numbers such as, that means whole numbers means it has no fractional part. That means 20, 30, minus 30, minus 25, all these are the under integer data type. But the point value, that means decimal point value, this is a fractional. If the fractional part is there, that is not treated as a number data type. So that is the first one, number data type. That is the first one, number data type. Then one more in the number data type, the numeric type, one more is there, that is called the floating point value, float data type. So this number data type, in the number data type there is one more category, floating point numbers. Floating point numbers. Okay. It's a short form, it's a float data type, float. Short form is float data type. Floating data point data type means a number having fractional part. A number having fractional part, that is called floating point values. Number having fractional part. For example, 3.14. It's a number having fractional part. So these kinds of numbers are called the floating point numbers. These are floating point numbers. So suppose if you want to enter if you want to input any float, any fractional number, at that time you can use a float data type. For example, write a program to find the area of a circle. Then area of the circle. Then what is the equation? Write a program to find the area of a circle. That is pi r squared, right? Pi r squared. Pi, the value of pi is equal to 3.14. Otherwise we can write 22 by 7. That means it has a fractional part. It has a fractional part. So in this case we can use which type of data, which data type we can use, that is float data type. Okay, we can use a float data type. See, that is the next one. A number having a fractional part is called the floating point type. The numbers, see, number, one example, I will tell you one example. 12 is an example of integer, but 12.0 is an example of floating point. 12 is an example of integer, but 12.0 is an example of floating point type. These are the difference between integer and floating point. Suppose if you enter 12, it is treated as integer. But if you enter a value 12.0, but this is treated as floating point number. So in Python programming, you can enter. So you can suppose if you want to add two number in a program, if you want to add two number, okay, how can we add? We already did this program, right? Then tell me, how can we add these two number in Python program? A is equal to, suppose A is equal to int or float. Okay. Otherwise we can write like this: A is equal to 12, B is equal to 3, C is equal to A plus B. C is equal to A plus B. Print sum is equal to, print sum is equal to comma c. That means here the what is the value here, that is 12. 12 is assigned to a. What is the type of this 12? It is an integer type. It is an integer type. Clear? But instead of 12, if you put 12.0, 12.0, that means a fractional part. This it has a fractional part. So the type of a is float. So the type of a is float. Suppose if you enter only 12, the type of a is integer. But if you enter 12.0, then type of a is floating point type, float type. Clear? That is the difference between a float and int. If you enter a floating point, that means after the point, if any digit is there, it is treated as a floating point value. But here there is no point, it's only 12, then it is treated as integer only. Clear? Then some advantages of floating point value over integer values. What are the advantages of floating point value over integer values? What are the advantages? The floating point in a floating point value has some advantages over integer values. First one, they can represent value between integers. See, the first advantage is they can represent values between integers. In the case of integers, it's a 12, the next integer is, the next consecutive integer is 13. In between, okay, a value, I need a value that is 12.5. Okay, I want a value 12.5 that is in between 12 and 13. But that is not as the type of integer, right? 12.5 is a floating point number. It's a floating point number. So, in between an integer, in between two integers, some floating point values, some point values are there. Okay, we can't take this point value as an integer. So, at that time, we can use float data type. So, that is the first advantage. They can represent the values between integers. They can represent the values between integers. That is the first advantages of floating point value. Then the second one, they can represent a much greater range of value compared to integer. The floating point value, we can enter a great range. That means in the integer range, approximately 50,000 our range. In the case of floating point value, the range, we can increase the range. Okay, so that is the another advantage of floating point value. That is another advantage of floating point value. The next, in Python, the floating point numbers have a precision 15 digits. That means in Python, the floating point value range, precision means after pointing. For example, 3.14. Okay, like in 3.14, how many decimal, after the decimal point, how many digits are there? Only 2 digits. In floating point value, after point, 15 digits are there. Okay, we can enter the 15 digits. No need to enter. Suppose we will get, for example, 22 by 7. 22 by 7, then 3, 21, then again 1, then 0, then 1, 7, then again 30, then 4, then again 28, again 2, then 20, then 2, then 14, like this. After the point, how many digits we will get? 15 digits we will get. Okay, point session, 15 digits, we will get the 15 digits. Clear? So that is the another advantage of a floating point value. Okay, these are the advantages of floating point value. This is the last one is not an advantage, it's a feature. It's a feature of a floating point value. Okay. Then the floating point numbers, can be written in two forms. The floating point numbers can be written in two forms. One is a fractional form and another one is an exponent form. There are two forms. We can use the two forms, or we can express a floating point number in two forms. One is a fractional form and another one is an exponential notation. These are the two forms. One is fractional form and another one is an exponential notation. These two forms we can use used to express a floating point number. In fractional form, fractional form means see 3500.75 3500.75. It is an example of a fractional form. But in the exponential notation, exponential form, exponent notation 3.500 3.50075 E03 3.50075 E03. Okay, that means this E represents the exponent. Okay, E and the exponent, it's an exponent. That means the meaning of this one 3.50075 into 10 raised to 3. Next, we are going to discuss about complex numbers. We can write a number in the form of a plus ib. Such numbers are called complex number. A plus ib. A is called real part and B is called imaginary part. Okay, such numbers are called complex number. A is called the real part and B is called imaginary part. In Python supports the complex number also. Okay, unlike other languages, the Python support complex numbers. Complex numbers means the A plus IB formula. It is the numbers. These numbers are called complex numbers. See, complex numbers are root കാണുമ്പോൾ, okay, we know that how to find out the root, square root, അല്ലേ? So root കാണുമ്പോൾ നെഗറ്റീവ് വന്നു. Suppose root 25, root minus 25. Root minus 25നെ നമുക്ക്, how can we write minus 1 into root 25? Then root minus 1 is called I root 25. So 5i or I5. Okay, 5i. So like this, it is called a complex number. I is called imaginary part. I ulla part ആണ് imaginary part. So like this numbers, that means complex number also support which one? Python support complex numbers. Complex number means a plus ib. Okay, a plus ib എഴുതുന്ന ഫോമിൽ എഴുതുന്ന numbers, that numbers are called complex numbers. A is called the real part and B is called the imaginary part. Imaginary part means I വരുന്ന part. I means root minus 1 is called I. Root minus 1 we can say it's an I. Clear? So ഇതിനെയാണ് നമ്മൾ എന്തെന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നത്? കോംപ്ലക്സ് നമ്പർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Python support complex numbers. എന്നാൽ പൈത്തണിൽ there is a small difference. A plus ib form, that is called complex number. അതാണ് complex number form. A plus ib form is called the complex number form. Okay, it is a complex number form. എന്നാൽ പൈത്തണിനകത്തിൽ ചെറിയൊരു വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. A is equal to 0 plus 3.1j. A is equal to 0 plus 3.1j. 0 is called real part, and 3.1 is called imaginary part. 0 is called real part and 3.1 is called imaginary part. The real and imaginary part of a complex number is retrieved through the attribute z dot real and z dot imaginary, okay, or image. Okay, so the real and imaginary part of a complex number z can be retrieved through the attributes z dot real and z dot imaginary or image. Okay, suppose here an example 0, here an example a is equal to 0 plus 3.1j, a is equal to 0 plus 3.1j. I already told you 0 is called real part and 3.1 is called imaginary part. Suppose if you want to get the real part in your program, if you want to get a real part, then you can use a statement that is real. And suppose if you want to need a imaginary part, then you can use image. These are the two attributes. These are the two attributes we can use to get the real part and imaginary part. To get the real part and the imaginary part. Yeah, example. Suppose this is our complex number. Then if I want to real part, then which one is the complex number? A is the complex number. So a dot real. Then we will get the real part. We will get a 0.0. Okay, it's not 0 because complex number returns only the floating point value. So 0.0, we will get 0.0. If you want the imaginary part, then a dot image, then we will get 3.1. Then we will get a 3.1. So this is complex numbers. This is called complex numbers. Clear? So these are the numeric type data using in Python. Okay. ഒന്ന് റിവൈസ് ചെയ്യാം. The numeric data type. For numeric data type is number, right? Numeric data type. Which one is the numeric data type? That is number. അല്ലേ? Number ആണ് നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞ first one. That is the first one, number. Number data type. Yeah. Under this data type, there are two categories. What are they? Integer and Boolean. Integer and Boolean. Integers means, we know that what is integers? Integers are the whole numbers. That means it has no fractional part. And Boolean means it has only two values. One is true or false. Otherwise, we can say 0 or 1. Clear? That is, this is the subcategories of integer and Boolean of and then the number. Then the next we discussed about that is also a number data type. Which one is that? That is floating point type. Floating point type. That is also floating point type. Floating point type means number having fractional part. That is called floating point type. Number having fractional part. Such numbers are called floating point type. And all floating point type in advantages. What are the advantages of floating point data types over integers? In between, that means integer നമുക്ക് 12 then 13 ഈ രണ്ട് നമ്പർ വാങ്ങാം. ബട്ട് 12.5 ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് എന്താണ് ഒരു ഇൻറ്റിജർ ടൈപ്പ് അല്ല. ഇത് ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് നോട്ട് ആൻ ഇൻറ്റിജർ ടൈപ്പ്. ഓക്കെ, ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എ ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റ് ടൈപ്പ്. സോ വൺ അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് ഈസ് ദാറ്റ് എന്താണ്, അതായത് ഒരു ഇൻറ്റിജർ ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പ്, ഒരു ഇൻറ്റിജർ ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പിന് ഇതിൽ 12, 13 വാങ്ങാം. ഇൻ ബിറ്റ്വീൻ നമുക്ക് ഒരു ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പിനെ ഇൻറ്റിജറായി വാങ്ങാൻ പറ്റില്ല. സോ ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റിൻ്റെ ഒരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് അതാണ്. ഏത് റേഞ്ചിലുള്ള വാല്യൂ, ഇൻറ്റിജറിൻ്റെ ഏത് ടൈപ്പിലുള്ള വാല്യൂ നമുക്ക് എന്ത് ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റും, വാങ്ങുവാൻ പറ്റും. സോ ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് ദ ഫസ്റ്റ് അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ്, ഒന്നാമത്തെ ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റ്. രണ്ടാമത്തേത് ഒരു അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജും കൂടി ഉണ്ട്. എന്താണ്, ദേ ക്യാൻ റെപ്രസെൻറ്റ് മച്ച് ഗ്രേറ്റർ റേഞ്ച് അല്ലേ, അതായത് ഗ്രേറ്റർ റേഞ്ച് വാല്യൂസിനെ. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ഗ്രേറ്റർ റേഞ്ച് മീൻസ് എന്താണ്, നമ്മുടെ ഇൻറ്റിജറിനകത്തിൽ അറൗണ്ട് 50,000 വാല്യൂ വാങ്ങാമെങ്കിൽ മറ്റേത് അങ്ങനെയല്ല, ഹൈ റേഞ്ചിലുള്ള വാല്യൂസ് 3.14 × 10⁻38 ഓക്കെ, അങ്ങനെയുള്ള റേഞ്ചിലേക്ക് നമുക്ക് വാല്യൂസിനെ വാങ്ങുവാൻ പറ്റും. ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് എ സെക്കൻഡ് അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റ് ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പ്. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് എ സെക്കൻഡ് അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റ് ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പ്. ദീസ് ആർ ദ ടു മെയിൻ അഡ്വാൻറ്റേജസ് ഓഫ് ഫ്ലോട്ടിംഗ് പോയിന്റ് ഡാറ്റ ടൈപ്പ് ഓവർ ഇൻറ്റിജേഴ്സ്. ഇനി how many decimal points, how many after the decimal point, how many values we can take or we will get in a floating point value? 15 digits. 15 digits after the precision point session, 15 digits we will get. Clear? In the floating point data type. That means the accuracy, and accuracy വളരെ കൂടുതലാണ് ഡാറ്റയുടെ. Then next, complex numbers. Unlike other programming language, the Python programming language support which one? Complex numbers. Complex numbers means it's a plus ib formula number. That number is called complex number. That's called complex number. A is called real part and B is called imaginary part. ഐ വരുന്ന പാർട്ട്, ദാറ്റ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് ഇമാജിനറി പാർട്ട്. ഓക്കെ, അതായത് കൂടുതലും നമ്മുടെ സ്ക്വയർ റൂട്ട് എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ റൂട്ടിനുള്ളിൽ നെഗറ്റീവ് നമ്പർ വരുവാണെങ്കിൽ അത് അന്നേരമാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഒരു കോംപ്ലക്സ് നമ്പറിലേക്ക് അത് മാറുന്നത്. ഇറ്റ്സ് കോൾഡ് കോംപ്ലക്സ് നമ്പർ. ദെൻ a+ib ഫോമിൽ എഴുതുന്നു. നിങ്ങൾ മാത്സിനകത്തിൽ ഓൾറെഡി ഡിസ്കസ് ചെയ്തതാണ് കോംപ്ലക്സ് നമ്പർ. ക്ലിയർ? Then if you want to get a real part of a complex number, we can use a attribute that means real, and if you want to get a imaginary part of a complex number, you can use another attribute that is image. Okay, that also we discussed. Yeah, itre ullu. Okay, the first data type, that is number data type. Okay, that's over. Then the next one is string data type. Next is string data type. Next is string, the second one, that is string data type. Second one is called a string data type. Like the string data type, what is strings? String means the group of characters enclosed in single quotes or double quotes, that is called a string. Suppose this is an example of string. Enter my name Arun, that is enclosed in a double quotes. Clear? So it is treated as a string. Okay, that means a group of characters enclosed in a single quotes or double quotes. Here, see Arun, that is in the single quotes. Okay, so it is called a string. Okay, then string. For example, if I write a is equal to Arun, that is in the double quotes. So the type of this variable a is which type? String type. The variable a is of the type string. Okay, variable a എന്തിന്റെ type ആണ്? String type data. Okay, അതാണ് string data types. String data type. Strings are also called, it's called a character array. Strings are also called a character array. That means the strings ആണ് ശരിക്കും ഇതൊരു string സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ അരുൺ എന്ന് സ്റ്റോർ ചെയ്യുന്നത് ARUN. Here the address 0, 1, 2, 3. That means how many elements are in this array? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so നമുക്ക് ഇതിനകത്ത് ഈ ഒരു അറേയിൽ, ഇറ്റ്സ് ആൻ അറേ. ഓക്കെ, ദിസ് ഈസ് കോൾഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സ്, അറേ ഇൻഡെക്സ്. 0, 1, 2, 3 ആർ കോൾഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് അറേ. ഈ അറേയുടെ ഇൻഡെക്സ് ആണ് 0യും 1ഉം 2ഉം 3യും ഒക്കെ എന്താണ് ഇൻഡെക്സ് നമ്പേഴ്സ് എന്ന് വിളിക്കാം. ഇത് 0, 1, 2, 3ക്കും അതേപോലെ തന്നെ തിരിച്ച് നമുക്ക് എഴുതാം. ഹിയർ -1, -2, -3 and -4. This index is called forward index and this one is called backward index. There are two types of index using in a string. The first one is forward, not only string. Okay, all the other list, ഇനി നമ്മൾ അങ്ങോട്ട് പഠിക്കാൻ പോകുന്ന ലിസ്റ്റ്, ടപ്പിൾ, ഇതിലൊക്കെ നമുക്ക് ഉപയോഗിക്കാം. അതായത് ഈ രണ്ട് ഇൻഡെക്സ് ആണ് നമുക്ക് ഉപയോഗിക്കുന്നത് അറേയിൽ. വൺ ഈസ് ഫോർവേഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സും അനദർ വൺ ഈസ് ബാക്ക്വേർഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സും. Forward index എന്ന് വെച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ 0, 1, 2, 3. This is called forward index. Backward index, it's a -1, -2, -3, -4. This index is called backward index. Clear? അപ്പോൾ ശരിക്കും നിങ്ങൾ അരുൺ, if you enter a name Arun, then this Arun എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു അറേയാണ്. Array means the elements are stored in a consecutive memory locations. Elements are stored in a consecutive memory locations. അല്ലേ? ഇതിന് ഒരു ഇൻഡെക്സ് കാണും. എപ്പോഴും അറേ ഇൻഡെക്സ് ഓൾവേസ് സ്റ്റാർട്ട് വിത്ത് 0. ദാറ്റ് മീൻസ് ഫോർ എക്സാമ്പിൾ ദ നെയിം ഓഫ് ദിസ്, സപ്പോസ് ദ നെയിം ഓഫ് ദിസ് അറേ ഈസ് നെയിം തന്നെ കൊടുത്തു. ഈ അറേയുടെ നെയിമിന്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാനിപ്പോൾ വേണ്ട, അത് കൺഫ്യൂഷൻ വേണ്ട. സോ ഈ ഇതിൻ്റെ പേര് STR എന്ന് കൊടുത്തു. STR, ദ അറേ നെയിം ഈസ് STR. ദെൻ STR ഓഫ് 0 എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, വാട്ട് ഈസ് STR ഓഫ് 0? A. ദെൻ വാട്ട് ഈസ് STR ഓഫ് -4? That is also A. അല്ലേ? STR ഓഫ് 0യും A തന്നെ, STR ഓഫ് -4ഉം A തന്നെ. Then STR ഓഫ് 1. What is STR ഓഫ് 1? R. Then STR ഓഫ് -3. That is also R. Clear? ഇങ്ങനെ ഓരോന്നും നമുക്ക് എന്ത് ചെയ്യാം? ഫോർവേഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സിലും എഴുതാം, ബാക്ക്വേർഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സിലും നമുക്ക് ഓരോന്നും ഇതിനകത്തിലെ ഓരോ സ്ട്രിങ്ങിനകത്തിലെ ഓരോ എലിമെൻറ്റ്സിനെയും വി ക്യാൻ റെപ്രസെൻറ്റ് ആസ് എ ഫോർവേഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സ് ആൻഡ് ആൾസോ ബാക്ക്വേർഡ് ഇൻഡെക്സ്. ക്ലിയർ? സോ ദിസ് ഈസ് സ്ട്രിങ്. അപ്പം സ്ട്രിങ് ക്യാൻ, വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദ ഡെഫിനിഷൻ ഓഫ് എ സ്ട്രിങ്? എ സ്ട്രിങ് ക്യാൻ ഹോൾഡ് എനി ടൈപ്പ് of known characters, that is letters, numbers or special characters of any unknown script languages. That means string, simply we can say strings is a group of elements or a group of characters enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. That is called string. Clear? Then example Arun, that's a string. Then another example, another 1, 2, 3, 4. It is an example of string here because it is enclosed in a double quotes. This is also another example of string here. This is also another example of string here. Clear? Then see, each character, all these are called characters or the elements in this array or in this string. Okay, ARUN. Okay, we can access all these elements using its index number. All the elements, all in the individual elements of the string, all the individual elements of the string we can access using its index number. There are two types of index number. One is forward index and another one is backward index. One is forward index and another one is backward index. Okay, then one function also we will discuss now. One function, for example, if you want to find the length of this string, if you want to find the length of this string, we can use a function. That function is called a len function, len function, len of str. Suppose our string is str. Our string means what is our string? Str. In str contains ARUN. How many characters? How many alphabets are there? How many characters are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. That means len of str will get 4. The result, we will get the result 4. Len of str we will get the result 4. So len function is used to find the length of a string. Str function is used to find the length of a string. That is the use of len function. Clear? So the string. Okay, our string data type. The second data type is also over. Clear? The string. What is string? Once again we can discuss about the string. What is string? String means a group of characters enclosed in single quotes or double quotes. That is called a string. Then in Python case string. Python case string. String examples are 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Arun. Then another example. Okay, all these are in single quotes. Single quotes. Question mark, question mark, question mark. Okay, this is also a string. All these are the examples of strings. All these are examples of string data types. Then the elements, we can access the elements in a string using its index number. There are two types of index number. One is forward indexing and another one is backward index. Okay, suppose here if I want to take the element R, then where it resides, that is in the str of 1. Okay, either you can use str of 1, you will get R. Otherwise you can write str of 3. At that time also you will get R. Clear? So both indexes we can use. Both indexes we can use in strings. Clear? Then one more is there, that is len function, len function. Len function is used to find the length of the string. Okay. So the string is also over. The next is list and list, tuples, set and dictionaries. There are remaining, the data types are list, tuple and dictionary and sets. All these we will discuss later. Okay, the next class we will discuss the other data types. Okay, then today we are going to wind up. Thank you.